Hi guys, bienvenidos a un otro video. Welcome back to another women's health video. In today's video, we are going to be talking about PCOS and leaky gut, and that's just one of the things that we could be talking about, girl. One of the things that irritates me with PCOS is that, first of all, if I'm being honest, we aren't really taught much about it in medical school and in residency. So to get like the full pathophysiologic picture, a lot of physicians out there don't know. The reason why I know is because I'm just a nerd and I have a genuine curiosity about the human body and the anatomy and the physiology and all those things. And also because I have PCOS. So it was really important to me to understand the pathology that I have. Right? So before we get into leaky gut and what causes it and how to treat it, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the pathology about PCOS. Now y'all know I talk a lot. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and apologize. Okay, if you're new here, welcome. First of all, my name is Treya. Nice to meet you. But I talk a lot, boo. It's important to me because I want to make sure that I'm explaining the disease process so that you guys understand and so that it will make sense whenever you're ready to start your treatment plan and you'll know exactly why you're doing certain things. You won't go into it with a blind view like, I don't know why I'm doing this. This probably isn't as important as it needs to be because I don't feel like it's changed nothing. No, it is. So that's why it's really important to me to explain things in my videos. That noise, y'all ignore it. My dogs are in here and they gotta be in here because if I'm not around them, they gonna be barking, child. Also, if you like any of the pieces that I'm wearing in today's video, I will have everything linked at either the QR code in the video and /or in the description box. So first of all, what is PCOS? PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome. It is a pathophysiological disease that is characterized by hyperandrogenism, which means elevated androgens or male hormones inside of the blood, as well as ovulatory dysfunction, meaning you don't ovulate every single month, at least not on a 28-day cycle. So you can have irregular periods. With the hyperandrogenism, you can have acne or facial hairs. You don't have to have both, okay? You ain't even gotta have either, okay? The male hormones in your lab work might be elevated. There's some evidence of hyperandrogenism and there's some evidence of ovulatory dysfunction, and you might have multiple cysts on your ovaries. Now our ovaries make cysts every single month whenever we're ovulating, even if we don't have PCOS. So if you have cysts on your ovaries, it's not a bad thing. What matters is the number of cysts and the size of those cysts. And with PCOS, we typically tend to have a lot of small cysts or pearl string appearance on the ovaries, and so we'll see those on ultrasound. So out of those three things that I just mentioned, hyperandrogenism, ovulatory dysfunction, or multiple cysts on the ultrasound, you only need 2 out of 3 for a diagnosis. So if somebody's out here telling you you don't have PCOS and they didn't look at your blood work, they didn't take a good history, they didn't do a good physical, they didn't give you an ultrasound, boo, they can't say that you don't have it. Okay, so don't let them tell you that. Okay, so why does PCOS form? In order to answer that, I'm going to show you guys an infograph of how the hormones work in a normal cycle. In the middle of your cycle, right before you ovulate, you have what's called an LH surge. Now, LH is luteinizing hormone. It's a hormone that plays a very important role in helping your body to ovulate. In PCOS, this does not happen, right? Your LH hormone or your luteinizing hormone is elevated at all times. LH or luteinizing hormone also helps your body to produce progesterone. If you have too much progesterone in the body over time, you can produce a lot of androgens. So that is why I said PCOS is characterized by elevated androgens or male hormones, because the LH is always elevated. It don't ever turn off. It just keeps going and going and going. It's like that Energizer bunny. I'm probably aging myself because half of you guys don't know what I'm talking about. But either way, your LH is always producing progesterone. Your progesterone is always producing androgens. Now those androgens can do a lot of things. They can wreak havoc on your body, but specifically in today's video, I want to talk about why we can have leaky gut and so much bloating and fatigue. Cause girl, I be going through it. That is like, my PCOS kicks my, like child, I'm always bloated. I'm always in a waist trainer because I'm like, why am I always bloated? I'm always tired. I'm always irritable. My gut is messed up, or was messed up before I healed it. That increased progesterone causes your bowels to relax, meaning that your bowels aren't contracting and pushing through all of the food succus to the rectum. That is one of the reasons why you might feel bloated, is you might be backed up. You have elevated levels of progesterone and your intestines aren't actually contracting to push the food out. The androgens can also change your gut flora. Also, these androgens cause a decrease in very important bacteria inside of your gut. So I know y'all don't care about the names, but I'm gonna name them. because like I said, I need you to know. I need you to know and understand. So you have decreased bacteroides, decreased E. coli. That's like the main bacteria in the gut, right? That you need. You also have a decrease in other bacteria in the gut, like lactobacillus. I'm sure we all have heard of that. You've decreased Clostridium. All of these things are really important to maintain a healthy balance of your gut flora. With elevated androgens, you can also have a decrease in the diversity of your gut microbiome. You don't have a balanced gut microbiome. You don't have as much mucus coating and protecting the lining of the intestines. So all of these things combined lead to a less than optimal environment for your gut microbiome. Also with PCOS, you can have what's called insulin resistance, meaning that you either have too much insulin in the body, where eventually the human body is always a negative feedback loop, you guys. So if your body is making too much of something, it's going to try to regulate that. So if you're making too much insulin, your body is going to decrease the amount of insulin receptors on your fat cells and on your muscle cells because it don't want to use that much. So either you have too much insulin or you have decreased insulin receptors, and the insulin that you are making can't bind to those cells. If you have too much insulin in the body, it can create something called IGFs, which are insulin-like growth factors. The main point is those IGFs cause inflammation in the body. And one of the things that I can't stand about providers nowadays is we're not explaining what inflammation is. It just sounds like everything is swollen, which yes, it is. That is a sequela of inflammation. But the main thing that I need you to understand is that when we say inflammation, it makes a lot of inflammatory markers that will increase the permeability of your vasculature, so your blood vessels, and the intestines, your bowels. So that is why you have leaky gut in PCOS. Because of the elevated progesterone, you're not contracting your bowels. Because of those increased androgens, your gut microbiome is messed up. And because of the insulin resistance, you have those IGFs creating a pro-inflammatory cycle, which ultimately increases your intestinal permeability. I'll put another infographic of what leaky gut looks like on a cellular level, so you'll also understand if that helps you visually. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a visual learner. There's evidence to support this claim. Several studies have found that PCOS patients had more pro-inflammatory markers inside of their blood, like TNF-alpha, C-reactive protein, and interleukins 1 and 6 inside of the blood versus non-PCOS patients. And when I'm saying patients, I mean like mice, sometimes humans. It don't matter. The point is they there. So like I said before, those inflammatory markers will increase the permeability of your intestines, meaning that bacteria and food particles can easily pass through your gut into the vasculature, causing more inflammation because your immune system isn't going to recognize those materials inside of the blood. So therefore it secretes more inflammatory markers, and so that's how you get the bloating and the swelling. It's also important to note that your gut microbiome communicates to your brain other hormones to secrete, like GLP-1. I know y'all have heard about that. It's famous out here in these streets, GLP-1. She real famous. And ghrelin, which helps to modulate your insulin levels inside of the body as well as your appetite. So if that's out of whack, everything out of whack. On to the good part. How do we treat it? I'm just gonna get the first one out of the way. I know everybody don't want to hear it, but it's true, okay? You gotta have a anti-inflammatory diet that is low in processed sugars as well as fats. Processed sugars and too much fats in the body turn into fat, right? So that's all you need to know. Fat is not dormant tissue. Like, I'm all for body positivity. We all come in different shapes and sizes. We all got children. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. However, fat is not dormant tissue, okay? That is just the reality of the situation. Fat makes a weak estrogen called estrone that goes to your uterus to thicken the lining, which can cause heavy bleeding, and it increases your risk of endometrial and uterine cancers in your future. So that's one thing. Fatty tissue creates a vicious cycle, okay? It creates inflammation and insulin resistance, which therefore creates more fat deposition. The formation of fat, especially central adiposity or fatty tissue around the waist, in itself, that process is inflammatory. If you want to cure your PCOS, you gotta need an anti-inflammatory diet, and you have to exercise to get rid of your central adiposity if you have any. Secondly, you need to increase your intake of prebiotics and probiotics. Now, what is the difference? This is like a huge question that I get all the time on my IG and TikTok, which if you aren't following me, maybe you should. Prebiotics are basically fibrous containing food sources that your gut bacteria feeds on in order to promote a healthy gut microbiome. Probiotics help to proliferate healthy gut bacteria to, again, facilitate a healthy gut microbiome. So the way that I tell people how to remember it is pre means before. It's the ingestion of a substance before it gets to the gut. So that fiber comes from the ingestion of sources of roughage around fruits and vegetables like apples, pears, cucumbers, chow, anything with the rough skin, that's fiber. You need to eat that. That is a prebiotic. Probiotics, pro means plus, so it's going to help things proliferate. So those are going to be your intake of certain gut bacteria. Now, like I said, in patients with PCOS, you have decreased diversity and you have decrease of gram-negative bacteria and gram-positive bacteria, but mainly the ones that are important for a healthy gut microbiome are your gram-negative bacteria. So you're going to want to also ingest probiotics. Now, which probiotics do we recommend? So there's two things that I want you to remember here. Number one, Bacillus coagulans. Absolutely love it. It's a bacteria that's a part of your gut flora. And child, let me tell you, when I take my Bacillus coagulans, some of your blah blah. Definitely recommend that. My personal favorite source of Bacillus coagulans are the Suja shots that you take in the morning. Specifically, I like the digestion and the immunity ones. The digestion ones are my personal favorite. I posted about those on my IG story, so if you're interested, go on ahead and purchase it. You can also find a lot of healthy gut bacteria in fermented foods like yogurt, which contains lactobacillus. Remember, I told y'all PCOS patients have been found to have decreased lactobacillus levels inside of their gut microbiota. But also, lactobacillus is going to help you with your vaginal health. So it's a win-win. So if you like to take a more natural approach to things, you can also ingest foods like yogurt, sauerkraut, and kimchi. So this is why I always tell you guys, yes, a diet high in protein is important, but you also are going to need a diet that's high in fiber. Why? Because it's a prebiotic and you can't digest that protein if you don't have enough fiber in your diet. And you also need to take in whole foods. Another thing you can consider is taking berberine. Now, berberine is found in the fruit and bark of different plants, one of them being turmeric. So if you're already taking turmeric from those shots that I recommended, you're already getting berberine most likely. However, if you don't like turmeric, or if it stains your teeth really bad, or if you have any other side effects from turmeric, you can also take berberine over the counter. There's been several studies that have shown that berberine decreases intestinal cholesterol absorption. It helps to absorb bad cholesterol in the blood by the cells. It helps to prevent lipid synthesis or fat formation. It also inhibits glucose synthesis or sugar formation. So basically, overall, girl, it's gonna decrease your fat and sugar inside of the body. That's tea. That's kombucha. I made that up myself. I'm gonna start putting that underneath the girly sticks. Your body is not tea, it's kombucha. Is that lame? Now, don't just be out here just taking whatever without the consultation of a board certified OBGYN who has experience in treating PCOS properly, or without consulting a nutritionist or a holistic doctor or a naturopathic doctor. Something, girl, you gonna need help. Don't just be out here just taking anything. Now, the last recommendation is a medicine used in Western medicine, and I know we do not like supporting the pharmacology here, but y'all, the majority of medicines formed here in the United States are from our rainforest. So it is taken from plants. I understand it's man-made, I understand it's made in a lab, but don't just X out everything that's in Western medicine. There are things that can help you, and one of them is metformin. Metformin works very similarly to berberine. It helps to decrease glucose and sugar production and absorption inside of the intestines. So it helps to decrease inflammation inside of the body, and it can also change the gut microbiome, specifically in patients of PCOS. That's why we like it for our PCOS patients. Now, once again, don't just be out here taking nothing. I mean, you have to get it through a prescription anyway, but don't be taking nobody else's. I see you, girl, I see you. There have been studies that have shown in patients who don't have PCOS that if they took metformin, it causes gastrointestinal disturbances or GI issues. Your tummy gonna be bubbling, in other words, because it alters your gut microbiome. We need the gut microbiome alterations, not y'all who are normal. If you have a normal gut, do not just take metformin out here just because. I myself have not tried metformin. I have used the aforementioned conservative measures with great results. I know they're kind of boring per se. Hey guys, it's Editing Dre here. There was a lot of points that I actually forgot to mention. I don't know if I was in a rush this day, but I also wanted to encourage you to make sure that you're taking in adequate amounts of vitamin A, because vitamin A is what facilitates a healthy and sufficient lining inside of the gut, as well as other parts of the body, but mainly in the gut. I also want to encourage you to make sure that you're taking in adequate levels of vitamin D, because vitamin D helps to balance our HPOA, or hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis, which overall helps to balance your hormones essentially. And a healthy hormone balance is what contributes to a healthy gut microbiome. And in order to absorb vitamins A and D, they are fat soluble vitamins, so make sure that you're also taking it with some sort of omega-3, which is a healthy fat. So my fat of choice is fish oil, which will also help and be anti-inflammatory, or flax seeds if you do not like to take in animal-based products. As long as you get an omega-3 fatty acid, that's great. It's anti-inflammatory, which also helps to decrease your risk of leaky gut and inflammation. Hopefully this video helps someone. If you guys have any questions, you can always drop them below. Y'all know I'm gonna respond. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.